This is Evangelist George McTire of the Word of God Ministry. And on this clip, this video here, I want to use this time not necessarily for biblical purposes, but for practical purposes, of which the main goal is to reveal to you, the African American in this nation, the racism and the racist actions of the Democratic Party. Now, what I'm going to be revealing to you, I doubt very seriously if many of you have recognized it, even though if you go back to the campaign of 2015, the then candidate running for president, Donald Trump, made reference to the fact that for over 50 years, the black community has been a steadfast supporter of the Democratic Party, and as such, by our numbers and influence, we have become a vital part of keeping the Democratic Party in power. So much so that even the Democrats have to admit that without the support of the black community in this nation, they would be down there with the Libertarian Party or something like that. They would not have the power and status that they have today. The only way they have that is by the support of the black community. Well, when Donald Trump took over or won the presidency, a lot of blacks, I believe, voted for Trump, even though when they were questioned by pollsters and these people that go out and take polls and things, the blacks said that they were supporting the Democratic Party candidate, which at the time was Hillary Clinton. But in reality, they decided to give Donald Trump a try to see what he was going to do. I mean, after all, 50 some odd years and you still in the same position. In fact, in some areas, it's even gotten worse due to the fact of other groups outside of the African American community, the Asian community, the Middle Eastern community, the Muslim community, the gay community, and a lot of other groups, minority groups that are statistically behind the black community. The Democratic Party is seeming to cater to them while leaving the black community out to dry. This is not by accident. This is by design, and that design is for one reason, and that is to keep the black community dependent on them, the Democratic Party. So as we go take this little history lesson, I'm going to reveal some things to you that some of the things you know about, some of them you may not know about, but at the same time, the focus should be on looking at the evidence of what the Democratic Party is actually doing when it concerns the African American community. And starting from the offset, I want to say this, going back to the time of Abraham Lincoln. Now, we all know that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated primarily for bringing an end to slavery. This was done by a liberal Democrat. Of course, back then they used different names and so forth, but they all basically had one goal in mind. They wanted to keep slavery legal. Abraham Lincoln comes along, puts an end to that. The people go to war, have a civil war and so forth. And in the Civil War, it was the North, which was basically Republican type oriented, versus the South, which was democratically oriented. And from that, this is how we got basically winding down. We got rid of all those other parties, begin to merge into one larger party instead of having, I don't know how many other parties they had back then, but basically that's how we whittled down to the two major parties, Democrat and Republican. So from the offset, we have to understand that the Democratic Party was founded on the principles of keeping slavery legal. Abraham Lincoln comes along, says he's going to put an end to slavery, which after the Civil War and so forth, he achieved that goal to legally do it. But there were still people that did not like it and they weren't going to go along with it. And one of those people decided to assassinate Abraham Lincoln. Now, since that time, supposedly the Democratic Party supposedly has put forth the notion that they, the Democratic Party, this racist oriented, slavery, pro-slavery oriented party, has somehow changed its mode of how they handle or dealt with the black community, the African Americans and so forth. And that they no longer are what they used to be. But yet and still, if you listen to a lot of Democrats when it comes down to referring to Republicans who, among other things, get accused of saying the N-word. And I've heard Democrats and some black leaders, which I'm going to get on them, talk about them in a little while too, have said that once, when it refers to a Republican saying the N-word or saying something that could be misconstrued to be racist, they will come on and say on the news, on the TV, radio, and in the newspaper, once a racist, always a racist. A leopard can't change his spots. How hypocritical can that statement be? Because if you're going to take that position, then the Democratic Party is basically saying, oh, we're still racist because we don't change. We can't change our spots. We are what we are. But see, they try to put forth this notion, oh, we're not racist anymore. That's what the Republicans are. The Republicans used to be supportive of the black community. Now they're the racists. We used to be the ones that were out here killing them, sicking the dogs on them, burning down, wasn't they killing, burning down schools and churches, killing children and stuff like that. But no, we done changed now. That is the utmost stupidest, hypocritical line of Barbara Streisand. And I'm using Barbara Streisand. You know what her the initials of her first and last name are, don't you? That's BS. Coming from the mouths of these people. Now, what we're going to do? Well, I'm going to uh, burst this artificial bubble on this clip by showing you just how racist this party is. Not how it was, but how it is. I'm going to go back to the 60s and come forward. This is some 200 and some odd years after slavery was over to let you know Democrats haven't changed a thing. They just what they have done. They haven't changed their position on how they feel about the black community. What they have done, because of all these new civil rights laws and this, that, and other, they have changed their tactics. They don't necessarily have to use violence anymore to get something done. They use other means, and I'll talk about that as we go on to end this clip. But anyway, I want you to be prepared for the idea and the revelation that the main thing that the Democratic Party does not want for the black community in this nation is they don't want the black community to achieve the American dream.